Uh, Dex. Squad up, nigga.
It's official.
Yeah. They don't hear me though, huh? What? Yeah. The hardest fate to catch is the one you catching with yourself. It's a motherfucker when they sit you on their show. I done been there, nigga. Served 7 straight. Thought it was impossible when a nigga heard that day. Judge put that hammer down. Yeah.
All right, what's up? What's up? What's poppin'? Hey, yo, it's Nate Dogg, 916, coming at you live from Sacramento. Hey, you already know what it is, man. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to, that notification bell if you want to keep seeing this content, man. And if you got anybody you think that's life struggle and their story is going to help somebody else not take a step in the wrong direction, man, let me know. Hit me in the comments below, or you can hit me at Instagram at nate.dog916. I'll be glad to holler back. And other than that, you already know what it is. You can get the new merch. I finally got the merch out. You can go in the description of this video and each and every video after today, and you can get the link straight to Teespring, straight to the merch. If you're going to support the channel, y'all been asking for it. I finally did it, sat down and got it done. So holla. But, you know, today, we got a banger for you, man. So without further ado, man, what they call you, where you from, sir?
Gunner Ludlum from Detroit, and thanks for having me, brother.
Man, absolutely appreciate you coming on, man. This is long awaited. It took us a couple weeks to get this nailed down, both of us having busy schedules as we do, but I truly appreciate you taking the time early in the morning on a Thursday to come holler at me, man. I mean, first of all, what's it like? What was it like for, you know, let's say young Gunner coming up in Detroit out there, man, like household life, you know, what was that like?
Well, I got a very unique story, and you know everybody's going to say that. Everybody does have a unique story. Everybody does. I'm not taking from anyone else's, but mine is kind of one of those things that it's almost unbelievable. So I'm half Sicilian on my mother's side. My mother was Grace Carmela Tocco. Now her uncle was the boss of the Detroit Mafia for 39 years. All right, so his name was Jack Tocco.
Okay.
And so I grew up in this family, in this environment where, you know, it was just all the stars aligned for me to be involved in that, and not in a good way. You know, I ended up, my Uncle Pete Tocco, who was 12 years older than me, my mother's brother, my parents got divorced when I was like 4, and what happened is I ended up living with my grandparents, and my Uncle Pete lived with the grandparents because he was only like, you know, he was like 17 years old.
Right.
And when I first, you know, got introduced to criminal exploits, I got allergies in this room. It's always dusty, man. But so my uncle, not on coke.
Right. It's good.
People see me like weekend. No. So what happened was, I mean, a series of events. Like one example is I wanted to, I needed a new bike. My mom was going to give me $100 for a new bike, right? Now keep in mind, I'm about 12 years old.
Right.
$100, a lot of money back in the mid '80s, you know, and but the bike I wanted was $300. And so I went to my uncle, who I knew, I didn't know he was a criminal or a hustler or none of that. I just knew he had money. He had a new car, always had a flash and a knot of money. You know, a wise guy, Italian wise guy. And I said, Uncle Pete, man, I want this bike. Will you buy me this bike? And he says, man, I'm not buying a new freaking bike. He's like, what's the bike you want? I tell him it's Harrow Master. I was into the freestyling and tricking and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, get your cousin Frankie over here, who lived a few blocks away. And where I lived was all like mafia families, like all the main mafia families, and there's about 7 of them or so in Detroit, all live in Grosse Pointe, this kind of richy, uppy suburb, but it's right next to Detroit though, like a couple blocks away, you're in Detroit. Okay. And he says, go get Frankie. Frankie comes here and he says, listen, Alonzo, wants you to steal him a bike. So he's going to give you $50 to steal this bike. You know, go up to Grosse Pointe North and steal this freaking bike. So Frankie, you know, he was down for it. You know, he's like 15 years old. He goes, steals me this bike. Now I get to keep $50, and I got the bike that I want.
You got the bike you wanted. Absolutely.
So my uncle starts introducing me to this type of life. Another time, I wanted a mini bike. Same thing. Uncle Pete, buy me this mini bike. I saw it on the way over for dinner. We were going to my grandparents' house for dinner on Sundays. The whole family met. I'm not buying you the freaking thing. He's like, here's what you do. Back then, there was this, Jerry Lewis had this muscular dystrophy fundraising drive, these little cans. And you will get the can and you go sit in front of the store and say, would you like to donate Jerry's kids? And he says, go get that can, hustle out in front of the stores, and then keep the money. Now, I mean, that's a bad thing to do. It's horrible to do.
Right.
He told me to do it. And then so I'm thinking this is okay to do. So I end up going, and long story short, is at the 7-Eleven, which is like the liquor store. It just didn't make me enough money. So I jumped on my bike and drove like 5 miles. Well, keep in mind, I'm like 12, 13 years old. And I drove like 5 miles on a bike, which is a long ways. And I sat in front of this Kmart for like 5 hours and collected like 3 cans. And then ended up going home with $140. I bought the mini bike and blah, blah, blah. So this is kind of the progression of what I was doing. And then eventually he, had me go in. This guy owed him a bunch of money for dope and gambling. And the guy managed a high-end restaurant. And the high-end restaurant was like owned by a big coke dealer, which I didn't know at the time. Like I said, I'm like 15 years old. He said, I want you to go in there and collect a check. Every 2 weeks, pick up a check.
At 15.
I'm just going to give you a check. Yeah. So I go in there. They called me a baker. Now, the owner didn't know that it was a sinecure job, which just means a no-show job. I just show up, get this check, bring it to my uncle, and he gives me $50 out of the $300 check. Because this is to pay off this debt that the manager had incurred from gambling.
Oh, okay. Separate from the owners.
I'm going in there. Yeah. So I'm going in there every 2 weeks, every week collecting a paycheck, not even a real job, just giving him the money. It was all scam.
Right.
So it's a long story. That dude eventually got busted. The owner of that place ended up getting busted with flying a Lear jet in the Detroit City airport with 300 kilos on it. And it was him and his partner, but luckily he wasn't present during the thing. He had money for lawyers. He was able to get out of it. The other guy went away for 9 years and then beat it on appeal. But that's the thing. And that was my life kind of growing up in my family. It was my uncle was kind of my mentor. He became my boss, my capo, whatever.
Right.
And here's the other thing. I was always fighting and I was always like in trouble at school. The irony is, Nate, that I was a really smart kid, right? Really smart. Sir. And they told my parents that. They gave me IQ tests and all this stuff. They're like, he's exceptionally smart. He can do the work. He's just bored with the work. So we're going to put him in a special class with these other gifted kids. Well, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know what these – all I know was these were the freaks. Right. These weird, like, nerdy, freaky kids. They stick me in there, and I'm got self-conscious. I got to I'm thinking everybody in school now thinks I'm a freak because I'm in there with these freaks. Right. So I started getting a chip on my shoulder. And, like, if somebody said, man, you're stupid or whatever, I go berserk because I thought they were like the immediately. Kid.
Right.
Yeah, so I go smashing fools. And eventually they took me out of that, put me back into regular class where I couldn't concentrate. All I wanted to do was flirt with girls and shoot spit wads and not do my homework. So I was constantly just in trouble, man, in trouble. And by 8th grade, I was selling dope. In 8th grade, I started selling weed by necessity because my mom got sick. She was mentally ill and she ended up in the hospital. And my grandparents didn't know and nobody knew. And me and my sister, I don't know if we had too much pride or whatever, but we wouldn't ask my grandparents to nobody for help. Right. So I started selling weed, out of necessity. And, in 8th grade, here I am in 8th grade, bro. I don't know how old you are, but I was rocking troop jackets.
I'm 45.
Oh, you're 45. So I was freaking, you look young. I was rocking like, big stupid freaking donkey rope chains, troop jackets,
leather troops, the all leather.
Oh yeah, bro. I had like 3 of them. Nanny goats. I mean, I had all that, bro. Oh yeah. I was so basically I was this bad kid at school.
Yeah, so usually I ask what led from home life to street life, but it's off top. It's like it was just life. Period. Like all this was just life for you.
Yeah, it was a natural progression. That's what I'm getting at. It was like
absolutely.
I was already in trouble. I was always fighting. I was always getting expelled. I was always, whatever. My principal in my school hated me. There was a funny event happened where now I go to the office every day. Like by 3rd hour, I'm in the office. Right. And I just was a terrible kid. I got nominated, bro. It's a true story. I got voted to be most likely to end up in prison. As like the awards.
Damn.
Most likely to end up in prison. I got nominated. So I lived up to their expectations.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That's horrible.
I can't believe they made that a freaking.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what's horrible about it. Like, you really made this something y'all gonna say out loud? Like, okay.
Yeah.
That's something you say in a back corner in a classroom. Like, that kid, he gonna end up bad. Yeah. But to be in front of everybody, like, most likely to end up in prison. Gunner. Well,
Yeah.
they were right. They were right.
I mean, I did win best dressed and class clown, if that makes it any better. I was able to win other stuff too. But still, so this band came to school, and keep in mind, I was this terrible kid all throughout the year.
Right.
I mean, they knew I was selling drugs based on how I was dressed, how I acted. I was the only kid in school who had a moped. I had a tricked out moped with a first seat cover, with a fuzz buster on it, and a stereo.
I remember those.
Late 80s. Yeah, bro. My
had
thing
like
was
the
pimped out.
Elite or the Spree or something like that.
Well, I had a Spree.
A Spree, yeah, I know. Those were popular back then. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a Spree, then I got an Elite. I ended up with an Elite 50.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But anyway, I was the only kid at school with one of these. You know, all the gold chains, because everybody wants to trade gold chains for a sack of weed. So all these kids would like steal their parents' chains, bring it to me, and like, oh, I'll give you this rope chain or whatever. So I had like 20 gold chains. I looked like Mr. T. Plus, I had a big, fat, stupid one of Mercedes medallion.
Oh, yeah.
Gold rings on every finger. I mean, they knew, and I put it out there and let them know. So it was stupid of me, but you know, just flamboyant.
But back then, that's what it was. That's what it was back then.
Exactly. So I ended up getting kicked out of school, expelled because some rock band, some lame ass rock band, came to our school to perform, and during the performance, they were throwing out like T-shirts and stuff like that. And I loved football. Football was my thing. I had this passion for football. Later on, I can tell you, I almost played professional football. It was crazy. I almost got there. And I didn't even play high school football. That's the crazy part. Semi-pro led me to being scouted. But anyway, they threw this Nerf football into the crowd, and I like dove. I ended up in the bleachers in my, it's 8th grade, in the auditorium. I dove off the top of the bleachers to catch this football, which I did. But in the process, I crushed like 5 people and kneed some girl in the side of her head real bad. Bam, she was crying. It's all in the middle of this concert. So my principal points me to the hallway, and the assistant principal who hated me, his name is Kuznia. He was an Asian dude, and everybody thought he knew karate because he was Asian or something. And I walked out there, and he was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he smacked me, bam. And I'm like, "Whoa, bro, you can't smack me, bam." I smack him back. I mean, you ain't my dad. You can't smack me. What the fuck are you, man? I said, and so I said, wait till I tell my dad. Of course, my dad didn't care. He knew I deserved it. So they expelled me for that. And now when they expel me, and I'm kicked out. They're like, we don't want him back. We're going to push him up to high school, let him go handle, go let them handle.
Right.
So now I'm full-time in the streets. I'm out there freaking riding through the neighborhood on my moped because there's other dropouts and crackheads and losers and dope fiends and potheads. And so I just drive around.
It's a whole neighborhood of people.
Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole freaking east side of Detroit. Yeah. So I had all these freaking people. I deliver weed and coke every day. I was taking mini things, smashing up mini thins and cutting coke with it. I buy an 8-ball, right? About every day. Smash up some mini thins, double it up, and deliver to these freaking cokehead wannabes. And they'd call me 3 hours later. I'll take some more. It's a little harsh, but they're snorting up mini thins. But and that's how I ended up there. And then I got kicked out, expelled from high school because we had a stolen property racket going. You were able to break into the lockers with the combination if you rolled it backwards just the right way and it would click. And my boy was a thief. He'd go to the bathroom during class and he'd roll down the hallway going click, 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 click till he hit one. And then he'd open it up, grab the jacket, purse, whatever. So I knew this was going on. He was a scumbag to begin with. I buy some of the stuff because I sold the weed. So if he got anything worth money, he brings me this coat and he tells me this coat is his brother's coat. And I'm like, man, you didn't get this from a locker? He's like, no, man, this is my brother. He was trying to sell it. He grew out of it. It's a badass leather coat. I'm like, he's like, give me $50. I'm like, all right, $50. Right. Sure enough, I wear it to school. And the kid who freaking jacket it was saw me wearing it, reports it to the cops. And, I ended up getting expelled. Well, this is interesting. My grandpa, who was a powerful figure in the mafia, he was a very well-known, everybody knows in Detroit, the Toko name, everybody. I mean, it's one of those things with just household name. Well, he tried to get me back into school. He set up a meeting with the superintendent of the school and the principal and all that, me and my mom, and he went in there, and it's the first time, maybe the only time I ever saw him try to intimidate someone, with his name. He says, my name is Peter Toko. You know who I am? And they're like, yes, Mr. Toko, we're aware of you are. He's like, my grandson, I want him to finish high school. I want him to, have a chance in life. I want him to whatever. Right. They're like, we don't want him. He's nothing but trouble. He's been in a bunch of fights, stolen property. He hangs around these guys that freaking come in school smelling like pot every morning, blah, 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 blah. they expelled me. So now I'm full time in the streets. You know, I'm 16 years old. It's it. Now I buy a new Mustang. I'm flossing like a mother. I mean, I got a Ninja, a Mustang, toys. I'm just driving on the hood, a bad kid. And everybody in the neighborhood, all the cops, everybody knew it. All the mothers and fathers of the girls that I messed with, they all knew it. Then I get a girlfriend and their parents knew it. So just generally one of them kids, man. And I'm sure you can understand that story because it happens a lot. Similar stories. You know what I mean?
I understand it because it sounds like my story, except for the mafia connection. Except for the mafia, as a teen, that's all I was doing in school, selling dope. But you were selling tree, I was selling dope. But after I was just going to school just so I could play, like you said. I only went to school so I can maintain a C above average so I could play football. That's it. I just wanted to play football. Other than that, I didn't care. After football practice, it was the streets. That's all I wanted to do.
Right.
But that being said,
I wish I would have focused.
Yeah.
I wish I would have focused on football.
Right. Yeah, football is a great sport. Intramurals are great for youngsters anyway. It's just sometimes
I was a very, very talented athlete, dude.
Right.
Like no joke, dude. I know a lot of people say this. They're like, "Oh, I was a great athlete." Blah blah. I could have played football, pro football, or pro baseball. I was that good, but nobody encouraged me to stay clean, stay focused, practice. And I just didn't take it serious. It's a damn shame, too, because I was that good and gifted. When you get a gift from God like that, what I'm saying? It's a shame when you don't use it, I eventually tried to use it several years later. Yeah, but I broke my ankle, and that led to a pain pill addiction that led down to all kinds of crap. So.
Okay, so all this street stuff eventually led you to okay, so let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. So when you get kicked out, you get expelled from school, you're 17 years old, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
16.
So 16, excuse me. All right. So now you out bricks. When I say bricks, I mean you out on the streets. You just out there. Are you, I don't understand. Are you or were you ever made? If that answer can be given.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it because two things about that. This is a very important part of my story.
Yes.
So no, I was never made. I couldn't. In rare instances, a half Sicilian can be made, but usually if the father is Sicilian, not the mother. Okay. In my case, if I probably wanted that life, I probably could have got the boss to endorse it and maybe do it. But I never wanted that life. And the thing was, honestly, Nate, I never looked at myself as like a mob dude. I never looked at myself, as a wise guy. Mm-hmm. None of that mattered. I grew up in this family, so it all seemed normal to me.
Right.
All my uncles and all my cousins and stuff were like wise guys and grew up in this stuff. So to me, they weren't like someone I looked up to, and they're just family.
Just family.
Me, I was just a guy. I just was a guy who wanted to eat. So my hustling was for me. Now my Uncle Pete put me on hustles. Like he found weed in my coat when I was about, 16 years old. And he says, "What's this?" Takes me to the basement. He says, "What's this?" I'm thinking I'm busted because he, found my weed. I'm like, damn. He's like, "Listen, this is garbage weed." He's like, "You sell for me now." So he takes me out in the garage and he's got 10 pounds in a freaking banana box. And he's like, "Here, man, take this, get rid of it. It's better weed." So I start hustling for my uncle. And I never thought to myself, "Ooh, I'm in the mob or I'm a mob guy." Never occurred to me. Years later, when I was started to rub elbows with high-level mob bosses. And that's a fluke and why my story is very interesting. Normally, a guy like me who starts off at that age and you're at that level, you're not going to ever be in the same room with a high-level mob dude. Not in Detroit, that's for sure. Maybe New York, something, I don't know. But I will say in Detroit, there's 4 or 5 high-level bosses, maybe 6 or 7, and they have tiers of underlings, that are insulators between themselves and the streets. But my grandpa, who was very revered and respected by all these high-level mob bosses, they would come to our house. Now I lived with them, on and off for the years, and they would come to our house, or my grandpa would go visit them at their headquarters or homes. And so I get to hang out with them and I get to rub elbows with them. And what happened was my grandfather's eyes went bad. That's why I got sunglasses, by the way. I'm light sensitive, so I had my family run bad. So his eyes went bad and he needed a driver. I became his driver, and this is maybe in my late teens to early 20s it started happening. I'd go some places with him, and he'd like blow through a red light, not even see it. I'm like, what the fuck, are you kidding me? And I'd tell him, Grandpa, listen, you got to go to see Jimmy or Paul or whatever. I said, I'll drive you. So I started driving them. And these old Sicilian men, they're super chatty and social. I mean, that's a crazy thing. They're
especially when they're with each other.
They just love, they love to talk and kick and just tell some war stories. They all speak Sicilian. So they're all talking in Sicilian, but they know there could be mics listening. And so what happened was I would go there, these bosses' places, usually their headquarters, sometimes their homes, and then they would say, Alonzo, what the hell happened at freaking Nino's place the other night? I heard you freaking busted the place up. Now, Nino is like a front man for a club that's owned by one of these guys. So they all own nightclubs and strip clubs and stuff like that. And they hear about it. And they're always hearing that I'm in there smashing fools. You know what I'm saying? And, it's just how it was in Detroit back in that time. All of us tough guys, we just go to the club and look for other tough guys and then smash out. And so I was always wrecking dudes in the club. Now I was a big boy, bodybuilder, and I had a bad attitude. I was very violent. And so these old mob dudes would be like, yo, Paul told me this or Pete told me that or blah, blah, blah. What happened? And I start telling them these stories, and I was like, man, this fool freaking, was hitting on my boy's girlfriend. I checked him, my body got tough. I forget him smashing him. I'm telling the story. I picked them up, smashed him, blah, blah, blah. So now they're into it. These old men, these are just old frumpy uncles to me.
Right.
I don't know their rank in the mob.
Awesome.
I don't know their high-level mafia bosses. So they're like, yeah, it sounds like the stuff I used to do. I remember one time back when we were young, freaking Frankie did this, that, and that, and I ended up doing this, and I knocked out that guy, and blah, 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 blah. And we ended up tearing up this. So they're telling me their war stories. And so now we're playing penny poker. We're sitting at the table playing penny poker. They got these freaking old mob bosses smoking cigars. They look just like in the movies. It's exactly what they look like and felt. And I'm telling my war stories, and they're telling me. So they started seeing me as this like crazy ass tough guy,
Right.
And they knew I had gone to jail. I got busted for selling steroids, and I ended up going to jail for 6 months. And to them, it was almost like initiation. You know what I'm saying? He's like, he's one of us.
Yeah, you didn't tell. You went to jail.
So now they started. Yeah, exactly. So they start giving me assignments. I need you to do this. I need you to usually muscle stuff. Right. First, it was like a couple times I had to smash, intimidate somebody. Another time I had to freaking beat up a dude. It's like a high-level mob boss named Tony Giacalone. He was the guy that Jimmy Hoffa was going to meet the day Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. Right. So everybody knows who he is, Tony Giacalone. Well, he had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend, her ex came to the house one night drunk and like smacked her around and the kids. So she called Tony. And Tony called me, and he said, listen, gonna go handle this. So I went over there and I smashed this dude, right? Good. And then when he found that out, he's like, okay, I can trust this kid to get stuff done. He just said, handle it. Another time, one of my cousins was getting kind of punked out by neighborhood kids. He said, go handle it. I went and handled it. And I'm punked out these kids. And so now he's like, I need you to work security at this nightclub. I need you to work security at this event. It's like poker night. I need you to work security at these poker games, underground, like on poker games. And which ended up getting me in a lot of trouble too, by the way, because I am scabbing the poker players. When I learned who the players were and how the games worked, how they're cutting every pot. They had a dealer, a stripper, cigars, booze, whatever. And I'm like, damn, I could do this game, and I'll cut every third pot, and I'll the buy-ins will be same $5,000-$10,000 one winner, but if I cut every third pot, they win more. So I started telling these guys on the low, I'd see them in the club. I'm like, yeah, man, you want to play at one of my games? So when they started playing at my games, they stopped playing at the other games. And so when that happened, like Tony found out, he's like, yo, why aren't you playing at my games? He's like, I'm not playing at your gunner's game, your nephew's game. Then I get called in. I'm like, yo, they're like, what are you doing, bro? You know what I'm saying? I got reprimanded like 3 times. On the 3rd time, it was a warning that said, if you keep doing it, there's nothing we can do to help you. My grandpa told me that. Right. So that's where my life led to. So that was, so basically those jobs led me into that life, which is crazy because I never said I wanted to be a mob dude. I never wanted to work for mob dudes. All I wanted to do was make money, man, put food in the fridge and hustle, hit the club, have nice clothes, nice toys, and go do fun stuff. And that's what I did. And a lot of people are like, stupid haters are like, man, this freaking guy thinks he's some big shot mob dude. I'm like, yo, I never claimed to be big shot mob anything. I was just a grunt from my uncles and just did some low level crap. But there's still some interesting stories and some crazy stories. And because I was a Toko by blood, that allowed me to intermingle with high level mafia bosses. Right. And he even told Tony Giacalone, told my grandpa one time, he said, Pete, if he wasn't one of yours, he did like this because I was scabbing his poker players. Right. I did other stuff that pissed him off. I was like shaking down Arab bookies, not knowing that these Arab bookies were already paying up to mob guys.
Right.
So now I'm double shaking, you know what I'm saying? And then they tell him, this freaking gunner guys, it's about $500 a week. And they call me in like, what are you doing? I'm like, man, listen, I got to eat too. And then they'd warn me. And I got warned once, man, by the underboss of the family, Tony Zarelli. I'm in his office, and Tony Giacalone was there, a couple other high-level mob dudes, Tony Bomarito, Frank Bomarito. And he says, Tony's, the underboss says to me, he's like, Gunner, man, what's wrong with you, man? Shaking these freaking Arabs down. He's like, one of these days, listen, you can't beat everybody. He did a fist like this. You can't beat everybody. He said, one of these days, somebody's going to come with a gun. I said, Frank, Tony, well, they better be a good shot because I got guns too. And if they miss, I won't. I said, then I'm going to come for whoever sent them. And when I said it, I pointed at him. I'm like, whenever send them, I'm going to come after who sent them. Everybody got all quiet in the room, man. Like, is this dude really threatening the freaking, Tony? And then Tony kind of laughs, ha, 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 Patu La Para, he said, you're freaking crazy, Gunner. And they laughed it off. But I was stupid for saying something like that because had he decided to perceive it wrong, that I was like saying that about him, like you send somebody after me with a gun, I'm sending somebody back, I'm coming back for your ass. Right. And he could have had me killed just like that. Right. He wouldn't have to say a word. He could have just went. Bang,
okay, so before we go any further, man, I see behind you got a book advertisement, man. Can you tell us about that real quick? Do a little plug for that before we move on.
Yeah, man. I am the author of a 2-book series called To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2. And ironically, I wrote these in prison, by the way. I wrote 9 novels in prison. And only 2 of them are of the mafia genre. Right. But I decided to publish them first before I published my other ones, simply because I figured I could use my past to kind of leapfrog or leverage my future. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I have this past. I'll release my mafia novels first and then kind of build from there. I write a series of short stories called the Ludlum Chronicles. They have like 3 million reads. And they're about my real life, growing up in this family and the stuff that I did, tons of crazy crime stuff. But my novels are fiction novels. I get asked a lot, how much of your life is in them. And there's a small portion of my real life and events in the novels, but not that much. They're much bigger, much more grandiose, much more romantic. People are saying that they're the next Godfather. People are, if you read the reviews on my book on Amazon, To Be a King, they're saying that I wrote the next Godfather. They're saying this is the greatest mafia story that's ever been written.
Okay, so it's the To Be a King by Gunnar Allen Lindblom. That's if they're looking for it. Where can they find it?
Amazon, and it's also available on Audible and iTunes as an iBook, as an audio book. So, Amazon.
Is there email?
I also own Art Thing Apparel.
Oh, right there, Detroit Art Thing Apparel. Make sure you check that out. Is there artthing.com or is there a way for?
Yeah, there's artthingapparel.com. I know, man, right? This is a conflict of interest with me and you here.
There's no conflict of interest. There's no conflict of interest. Plug that. There's no conflict of interest at all.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, I'm with all of that.
What's cool about Art Thing Apparel is that every major city we do. So if you look at the back of this,
yes, sir. Detroit. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Where now, if you're from Sacramento or wherever, it'll say Sacramento Art Thing.
Sacramento, it's not wherever.
Chicago, Brooklyn, Bronx. So it's all custom. We have 31 designs. We do leather jackets and like tracksuits. In fact, I got my varsity jacket right here, which is dope. We sell these varsity jackets. They're our thing. Kind of a throwback to the troop jackets,
Oh yeah, really.
It's fully embroidered. Oh yeah, we got everything. Tracksuits. We do full tracksuits and everything, every form of apparel that you can think of, we do it. And
Yep.
it's your city. You know, a lot of people that might be listening might not realize that the words La Cosa Nostra
Yep.
in English means our thing.
Oh yeah.
So La Cosa Nostra is a euphemism for the mafia. It's what the mafia calls itself, La Cosa
Right.
Nostra. In English, it means our thing. And so
Absolutely.
it's kind of like a play on that. You know, it's not saying, oh, look at me, I'm a gangster, or I'm in the mob or none. It's kind of like this. Everybody has a little gangster in them. Everybody does. You know, I don't care if you're a freaking single mother. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you're paying your bills, single mother, going to work, supporting your family, that's gangster, right?
Your stuff. Absolutely.